Hello, everyone. Welcome to our expert session, how Valhalla and Keystone Resort manage pace of play and field flow to deliver exceptional on-course experiences. My name is Bodo Sieber, CEO of Tagmarshal, and I'm joined today by Cramer from Valhalla. Kyle. And Tobias from Keystone Resort in beautiful Colorado. Hey, Philip. Thank you so much, everyone, for making the time. And I'm really delighted to have two quite different courses present today, so we can learn from opposite ends of the industry, I suppose, and also obviously different climates, different conditions, different challenges. So it's always nice, and also using different product types as far as Tagmarshal is concerned. So this is a session I'm very excited about. But what I would like to do is just give Philip and Kyle each a minute or two to do an intro on yourselves and your facility. Philip, seeing that we can't get away from those mad colors here, why don't you make a start and do a quick intro?
Thank you very much. Good morning. My name is Philip Tobias. I'm the director of golf for Keystone Resort. Keystone Resort is located in Colorado, about an hour and a half west of Denver. We're certainly noted for our wonderful skiing in the winter times, in the winter months. However, our golf is certainly equally impressive. We've got two 18-hole championship golf courses on premise, and you definitely cannot beat a Colorado summer, especially for those that experience those 90-degree days in southern states and in our surrounding states of Colorado. So yeah, very fortunate to be here and absolutely love Keystone and Colorado. And yeah, that's my story.
Thank you, Philip. Which of the courses is the photo of, and how regular do you get the skies painted like this?
Quite regularly, actually. Our sunsets are amazing. The colors are spectacular, as you can see, and that's the Keystone Ranch. That's our mountain valley golf course. You can see the surrounding peaks from the picture, and we've got about a 10-acre lake in the middle of the property and streams running throughout it. So quite simply amazing. There are other golf courses, the river course, and that's what we consider the mountain course, and really lends that. When you think about 9,300 feet of elevation playing in the Rocky Mountains, the river course definitely lends to that feel, and the elevation changes and more tree line fairways, those sort of things. So,
brilliant, fantastic facility. And just tell me quickly, you do mostly a drive-in or resort guests, or you have some members as well? What's the setup like?
We have a very diverse demographic. We are certainly resort oriented, and that's how we classify ourselves. But we do have a membership. We sell annual memberships as well. We host conference groups and drive a lot of locals, as well as being an hour and a half from Denver. Our drive market is pretty strong out of the Front Range, as well as surrounding states. Like I said, at 9,300 feet of elevation, perfect sunny skies, average temperatures about 70, 75 degrees. It's a great place to cool your heels if you're coming from Texas or Arizona, any place that is hot in the country in the summertime. It's a wonderful place to be. And
don't forget, how many days of sunshine a year?
I think we're like 300 plus days of sunshine a year. So yeah, it's great. It's not snowing in the wintertime, it's sunny. And it's wonderful.
Rub it in there, Philip. I've never met anyone from Colorado that doesn't fail to mention the 300 plus days of sunshine, but get the attraction. Absolutely. Thanks for the intro. Kyle, Valhalla, suitably famous, and I thought you were in line for another PGA champ there at championship there at short notice. Why don't you do a quick introduction?
Yes, good morning. My name is Kyle Cramer. I'm the head golf professional at Valhalla Golf Club in Louisville, Kentucky. Like Bobo said, we're the host of multiple PGA Championships, Ryder Cup, Senior PGA Championships as well. Hosting the girls junior PGA this year. We're very excited about that. And then obviously in line for the 2024 PGA Championship. We're located in Louisville, Kentucky. So I wish our sunshine was as good as Phillips, but we do have probably just as much snow as he does today. We got quite a bit last night. We host about 15 to 16,000 rounds a year, very active membership, host a lot of guests. A lot of our members do like to entertain, and obviously it's a great spot with the history and the service we provide here at the club.
Thanks, Kyle. Just give us a quick reminder of when this photo was from, and also that was from a time when you weren't yet at Valhalla, but there's been quite a few amazing clubs that have shaped you, I suppose, as far as your professional journey is concerned.
Yeah, so that picture's from the Ryder Cup 2008. Unfortunately, I was not there for that, but my professionol career, I started working at Fort Wayne Country Club for Todd Firestone. I was lucky enough to move on to Congressional Country Club and Kyrgyz State Golf Club with Tony Pancake. Before I was the head golf professional at Chatham Hills, which is a new Pete Dye facility in Westfield, Indiana. Before I took the job last year down here at Valhalla. It's been a blessing. It's a fantastic place. Our general manager Keith Reese is amazing to work for, and the PGA gives us such great support here to do what we need to do.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Jens, for the great introduction. That's why I'm so excited to have you, as are the attendees, I'm sure. If you'll allow me just a quick minute on Tagmarshal. So we are on-course optimization system. At this point, we've tracked 15 million rounds of golf. This year would have been our 7th PGA show. It's just different, it's virtual. But yeah, we're quite used to working remotely and doing things online, seeing that we're a tech business. So it's not as much of a travesty for us, even though we do like the meeting all of our partners and obviously people that we're hoping to work with as well. And there's always Miller's Ale House to go and check out when you're in Orlando. We work with 300 clubs at this point. And it's a rapidly growing number. There is a lot of private clubs that we work with, because for them, it's all about the member and guest experience, where they're trying to provide excellence at all times. So here's your Valhalla, Kyle on our session now, Hazeltine, Wingfoot, Oakmont, there's the who's who. And then within that list, there's a 30 top 100 clubs that we work with currently. Here's your Pebble Beach, Straits Course, Erin Hills, Pinehurst. And there's also internationally quite a few big names like this is Carnoustie, Ballybunion over in the Irish coast, Le National in France. But the majority of our clubs are really that $50 green fee course, who likes to work efficiently and look for additional revenue opportunities, and also obviously provide the best possible play experience, or the good middle of the road private club, because that is a very competitive space, obviously. So again, the managers are looking for ways to work efficiently and provide the best possible service. We're very blessed in that we are tech partners to the European Tour and also provide lots of data and research to the USGA. We're always trying to help with what we're learning, and also what we're learning from a lot of these amazing managers, and bring it back to the golfing community. So thank you so much for the intro. Let's jump into it. So there's a few things we want to look at today. What are the key player experience factors? Because we as golf managers need to obviously serve the players, and we want to know what are the factors that matter the most. And then we want to look at how Valhalla and Keystone manage pace of play and field flow. What's the impact on efficiency, and how does it improve the member and guest on-course experience? So what I would like to do, as I'm handing over again to Philip, and after that Kyle, to give me what you believe are your top 3 experience factors, thinking both as a player of many years, but also as a manager. I'm going to also ask our audience what you think are the top factors, and you get to choose 3. So let me just launch a poll. Philip, starting with you, what would you say are the top 3 with the many thousands of rounds that you've done at Keystone and elsewhere. What would you see as rising to the top here for the players?
Yeah, and while all of these are certainly important, I think there's a few that stand out. Pace of play obviously is very critical as it lends itself to the overall experience. Course conditioning, and if I were to pick a third, I would have to say that the value for price paid.
Thanks, Philip. Kyle, from your side, maybe more the private lens on the question. What would you say are the top three?
Absolutely. Like Philip said, these are all important, but what we get the feedback the most on would be course conditioning, probably first, pace of play second. And, for us, it's probably about who's in their group. If especially if it's a tournament, I mean, I think that makes a big factor on their enjoyment. But, what we hear the most about after the round is either course conditioning or pace of play, if there are issues.
100%. We're going to look at some research just now, but let me quickly end the poll. It's a neck-on-neck race, which you guys can't see. I'm sharing the results here. So for what it's worth, our audience feels that course conditioning, very important, pace and flow of play, and then accessibility and tee time availability are important factors. So in terms of what the research says, so yeah, you're all very much on track here, because 82% of players, according to a large-scale USGA survey, are saying their prime experience factor is course conditioning. And if you look at your budget, you know that that's indeed the case, right? Because that's where most of your budget and effort goes, really, and it's expensive. But if it's done well, it certainly doesn't disappoint the players. But what's interesting is that how close to that is the pace and flow of play. Even though if you think about it from an effort or budget point of view, a big impact can be made here with a much more modest outlook. Philip, you're not surprised by these sort of more official findings, I would think.
I'm surprised that value wasn't mentioned once.
No, you're quite right. Value obviously features here too. And sometimes $250, $300 is great value, right? If the club gets it right. And that's probably at that level is where design also comes into play. But sometimes $30 is terrible value if the club doesn't get it right. So value is key. And obviously the factors that matter most to players are what we need to do well if we want to be seen as a great value or a good value offering. Kyle, from your side?
Yeah, it falls in line exactly what what we hear from a kind of day in and day out basis from our members and guests here at the club. Okay,
so that there's some further research that's really interesting to look at. And the one was published at the USGA Golf Innovation Symposium not too long ago. Certainly feels like a lifetime ago. It was in 2019 and it was hosted in Tokyo. And the reason that they chose Tokyo was because Tokyo was going to host the Olympic golf and the Olympic Games last year in 2020, right? So that was in 2019. And unfortunately, we're having to wait for that. But what that research showed was that there is a direct correlation between flow of play and the NPS. The NPS is the Net Promoter Score, which you'd all know from, that's what the airline, when they're asking you, for instance, would you recommend this service or this product to your friends and peers, rated out of 10, where 10 is yes, absolutely, I'm delighted, I loved it, and I'll tell everyone about it, and 0 is no, it was horrible, don't ever go there. So that is your Net Promoter Score. And they found that with literally millions of post-round surveys, they found that if the flow of play is medium to good, the Net Promoter Score is high. And if it's bad, it drops rock bottom. And there's nothing else that you can do, literally, that has this sort of a polar impact on the Net Promoter Score. Philip, as a busy resort, let me just ask you, is the Net Promoter Score something that you track? Do you do any sort of data gather on your guests that are coming through?
We certainly take our Net Promoter Score very seriously, and each month we send out a survey to all of our guests for that month, because it's important. We want to be better, and we want to listen to our guests and to be the best that we can. Like you said, the Net Promoter Score is huge, and focusing on those 9s and 10s and trying to drive the scores from 6 and 7 into that range is critical for us. And then also, in the event that we don't please everyone, and it's realistic we know that we can't please everyone, but to be able to make those improvements where we can. And one of the things we found was before we had Tagmarshal, pace of play was a struggle for us, and that was one of our detractor scores, and certainly focused on improving that.
I think one of the themes also of today's conversation is that we want to try and benchmark and measure where we can, right? That's the only way to get better. There's further to that research, what they also found is that it comes down to a few simple things that we need to do well as a golf operator. Our players want to feel welcome, they want to find a good flow out on the course, and they want to meet on-course staff. And that is a bit surprising. It's not necessarily something that you might highlight or find, but it's actually surprisingly important to players to meet on-course staff and just be looked after. But if you think about it, somebody arriving at the club, getting changed, hitting a few balls on the range, getting out there, that is a fairly short space of time where there's a lot of staff around them generally looking after them. Then they go out and they play for 4.5 hours, and they want to be looked after out there, right? Because if you don't, and then if they're not quite feeling welcome and if the flow isn't good, that's when their experience really hurts. And again, there's a huge Net Promoter Score impact here, where if we get these simple things right, the Net Promoter Score shoots sky high. And if we don't, then it drops rock bottom. And there's also correlation to restaurant visits, because obviously players coming off the course happy are more likely to spend more time. And also there's probably a correlation between if the flow is bad, the round's probably gone over, they've got less time available, restaurant visits go down. So there's a direct correlation here. Kyle, from your vast experience and obviously having worked at these excellent facilities and also having worked with many discerning members and guests, would you say it's that simple, or what would you add?
No, I do believe it is fairly simple when you think about it. It's really all about the feel good. When that member or guest comes in, do they feel like they're at home? I mean, we talk to our staff a lot about making sure that everybody feels welcome here at the club. And we kind of have two different scenarios. We have members who come in who know how to use the facility. They have a routine and they like to kind of stay within that routine. Have members who host guests or guests come in, and we got to make sure that they feel welcome and that they're greeted right away, that they're directed properly, that we make this as least intimidating as possible, and that they enjoy the day. And obviously pace of play is a very big piece of that puzzle. Our staff, our player assistants are typically, our assistant golf professionals, our interns, and we have a few key retired gentlemen that have been on staff for a long time that the members know, who do a great job. We're have a good staff, and we try to make an effort to touch each group a few times on the course, check in with them, make sure they're doing okay, whether they're on pace or if they need a little help.
Thank you, gents. So you've already segued into our next section of our session. So how do Valhalla and Keystone manage pace of play and field flow? So one of the things that I just want to point out here is that we need to measure if we want to be successful, right? And you're doing it in so many spheres of your business, especially the financials and so on, like where you're very strict on measuring success and measuring certain metrics. And then you can really manage and improve. And the person who coined that was Peter Drucker, who's certainly one of the greatest management thinkers of all time, and also ahead of his time, I guess, because at the time when he wrote this, gathering data was much more difficult than it is today. Maybe before we look at how you're doing it now, Philip, if I can just ask you to quickly go back to the old days, I suppose, where you didn't have technology, and what sort of effort or processes you used to run to try and get a handle on the pace?
The pre-tag, we struggled with pace, and being a resort golf course with a lot of different expectations and a lot of different player dynamics that we dealt with, from people that played 60 rounds a year to maybe 3 rounds a year, and those expectations are different, and their abilities are different as well. So trying to figure out that puzzle was challenging, and we did the best we could. We employed a lot of players' assistants. We spent a lot of labor dollars, quite honestly, trying to manage to our pace of play and create that comfortable pace for all golfers, which is very challenging to do. And this is quite kind of embarrassing, is before tag and on a Saturday, we would truly, I would be ecstatic if I left at the end of the day and the pace times were 5.5, 5:15 in terms of play time. And I know that sounds silly, but it was the reality. And regardless of how many players assistants we had on the golf course, at times we would have up to 4 players assistants on the golf course all at the same time, just trying to manage to the groups. And it was beating our head against the wall. We'd get one group going and drive 2 holes, and you'd have another group problem. And it was just one of those never-ending problems, and quite frustrating actually as well. And I always said, when we would hire seasonal staff for the summer, and we'd have a lot of returners, I always said that the hardest job at our facility is the work that the players' assistants are doing. Those are not easy conversations to have, and it's not easy to please and balance those expectations. And before tag, it was certainly a challenge, and thankful for tag because those problems ended.
Thanks, Philip. Kyle, from your point of view, and having worked at a number of facilities, and then when you arrived at Valhalla, obviously there was the system was already in play, but just remembering what were the sort of processes that you saw as standard, and how did you try and do things before you had technology to help you out?
Yeah, similar to what Philip said, at the previous facilities, we obviously spent a lot of time and labor dollars on players' assistants, and there's so much focus that goes into the daily operation that was just focused on pace of play and trying to move groups around. At the facilities I've been at some clubs, some private facilities where it's mainly member play, where it is a little more smooth. One of the clubs I was at had a very small piece of property, so it's fairly simple to keep an eye on. But other facilities I've been at, much more spread out, more guest play. And then that obviously creates a dynamic where your members want to play in 3:15, guests want to play in 4:45, 5 o'clock, and then 5 hours and enjoy the day. So it creates a dynamic where it doesn't really work without technology. It was very difficult to manage. You feel like you take your eye off of it for 30 minutes and you have 20 fires going on the course, and you got people driving in or texting you saying, hey, we're got 4 groups on number 7. And coming to Valhalla, it's been very, very great to have Tagmarshal, because we avoid a lot of those issues. We have Tagmarshal, our dashboard, up in a number of places in the golf shop. We have it on iPads with the players' assistants and outside. So we have about 3 iPads in play each day. So our staff is well aware of what's going on the course, and we can get ahead of the issues. And we talked a lot about that as a staff, of preventing issues, anticipatory customer service, and Tagmarshal is really, it's been great this past year to have that.
Thanks, gents. We're going to look at what this looks like for you in just a minute. So just a quick sort of schematic of the system. So on the left, you've got what we generally use for walking golfers. So this is what your sort of caddy courses or courses that do walking and cart golf. And obviously last year, 2020, there was a sort of resurgence of walking golf, and a lot of clubs are actually saying, well, our guests and members loved it so much, we want to retain some of that. So this is where we help with these units. It's a 1 unit foursome, or 1 unit a group, because all we want to know is what's the position of this group. And then in the cart space, we either install a Tagmarshal tag, one of these, or we've got these GPS units that are more the traditional GPS with yardage, range finding, ads, and food ordering, all of those things. But what they all do for us is they provide real-time data and real-time location of all the playing groups out there into our system, and then our system makes sense of it. And we've got a number of algorithms making sense of the traffic, the gap time, the flow, the relative time between groups, the trends. Are there risk? Because as you can imagine, a group that's slowing other groups down is a higher risk than a group that's just out of position and not impacting anyone. So our system looks to make sense of all of that, and then present it to the player assistants, but also management. And yeah, many of the clubs that we work with literally put it on a big screen in the clubhouse, so that the players also aware that there's an eye being kept, and that's something that the club puts a lot of emphasis on. And then there's a live management side of things, which we'll show you now. And then there's a lot of data that comes with it that helps you benchmark and get better and make better business decisions. So here's an example of this is an imaginary course. It's actually a mirrored and treed up Erin Hills that our team have built. So Philip, from your point of view, this is something that you look at obviously with your 2 facilities many times a day. Just tell us what you can see here. You're not the manager at this course, but you immediately know what's going on, even though you're 1,000 miles away.
No, absolutely. And Bodo, I'm not sure if everyone else can see, but the poll is still up, and I'm not sure if it's just what I'm seeing or.
Oh, that is. Thank you for pointing that out. I was supposed to make that go away. My bad.
There we go.
All right, okay, here we go.
Perfect. Yeah, so it's very simple, and it's very recognizable when you're looking at the screen, regardless if you're using a tablet, your cell phone, computer monitors in the golf shop. You know, it's the color coding. So green is good, and green is what you like to see. You know, when you start to see the pinks and the oranges, you know, it's very evident where the problems are. So pink being the delayer, and you know, those are the areas that you need to focus on, right? But it's being color coded as such, and then there's also another color out there that's that red color that we don't see on the screen. However, oh yeah, we do. However, those right there, you know what? That's that casual golfer that wants to really enjoy their surroundings and make the most of their day, and those are the folks that are going to be out there for quite a while, but they're not affecting anyone else, and that's also nice to see. It's not always about. That's the nice thing about tag is it allows you to look at your golf course in basically multiple different ways, and you know that you're not harassing number 13 there on the screen because they're not affecting anything. But it does also give you a heads up as well to say, hey, you know what? Maybe in 3 or 4 holes that we might have to act here, right? But yeah, it's super simple, and this is quite honestly very addicting when you start getting into the system. You know, I'm on this all the time, whether I'm at the office or not at the office. It's just very intriguing and very interesting to see. And quite honestly, when everything is green and knowing where we've been in the past, it's a sense of accomplishment. And you kind of get that sense of accomplishment every single day that you just push through a ton of golfers. Everyone played in a reasonable amount of time. We satisfied their pace of play requirement, and you know, you feel good about yourself at the end of the day, which is amazing. There are wins every single day like that.
Thanks, Philip. So yeah, to point out, we can obviously also track your drinks carts, for instance. Here's a superintendent vehicle. So very often the superintendents like to have line of sight too, because they can get their team out if there are gaps in the field. And here's your marshal. So Philip, you would now point out, okay, group number 17 is the biggest icon. They have a tail of 2 that they're impacting. You want your player assistants to get onto that. So here she or he is. But let me just switch over to Kyle. So from an information point of view, yeah, your assistant or yourself, you would now click on this group, and then you there's quite a few things that you would now know about this group, right?
That is correct. Yeah, obviously the biggest thing is you see how far they're behind, an estimated finish time. But we use the pace of play trend quite a bit, to make a, how aggressively do we speed someone along. We can tell if it's a common issue, or maybe they just had one bad hole that set them behind. There's a few holes out here that are obviously very difficult. We get once you get to hole number 6. Hole number 10 at times tend to take some time, or hole number 2, it's a typically cart path only. If they get in a little bit of trouble, we'll see where they have an issue. And most of the time that allows us to go to the group or the caddy in the group and just give them a slight warning, or just, ask if they're slightly behind, and kind of gently push them along. But, like Philip said, this system is great. You can be at home, or you can, be in your office working on something, and you can keep an eye on things. But the information it gives is really helpful to the staff to know what approach you need to take.
Maybe worth pointing out the player names, pulling in what tee sheet do you guys use at Valhalla, Kyle?
We use Club Essentials, and one of the things I really like about the system is Tagmarshal pulls our tee sheet in every day. So it's very easy for our staff at the first tee, our starters or our range staff, to tag the carts using the Club Essentials tee sheet. So we don't have to manually enter names. It saves a ton of time, and it makes it very easy for any staff to use.
And then probably also quite good to see when you click on a group, how many guests are in a group, or is there maybe a member that you need to be particularly sensitive with? That's probably helpful for your team when they go out and go and support.
Yeah, absolutely. We do host quite a bit of guest play here, so it's pretty quick to know if it's an unaccompanied group or if it's a member hosting 3 guests. Obviously we have some members that entertain. We kind of know off the bat that we're not surprised when we start seeing that purple icon show up. So most of the time we try to be ahead of it. But the other thing that this information really gives you is we kind of determine some points on the golf course that we know that if a group is behind by hole number 3, that most likely it's going to be a trend all day. So we try to get on that very quick. At the end of the day, we run reports, and we can see which holes are taking the longest. A lot of times, sometimes that correlates to cart path only. Sometimes that correlates to too difficult of a pin or green speeds that we've been able to share with our superintendent. So the information that system provides allows the kind of team to sit down at the end of the day and say, okay, if we had a bad pace day, what happened? What can we do better the next day?
Yep. Thanks, Carl. We're going to look at some data just now. Philip, just a last thought from you. I know that your team is very good at logging their interaction points out there, and I think that's something that is part of the process that you have set up with the team, and also holds them accountable. How do you check in on success here, and how do you define success, and how do you hold your team accountable as to what you're trying to achieve together?
Yeah, and that's another cool feature of Tag is we need to be sensitive in the business, right? And like Kyle said, maybe it's just that they had a bad hole or whatnot. But what's nice about this is that every interaction that we have on the golf course, we can tag that, we can document that within the system itself. So therefore, let's say there's a shift change or it's that next person coming on, that next player's assistant can look at number 17 there and say, hey, you know what, John just spoke with them, 40 minutes ago, and let's see how they're doing. Let's see if they're improving before I go up and have that interaction with them. So, and they already have the premise of what the last interaction was, which is invaluable, right? And not to pile on, but you had mentioned a very key point in terms of the superintendents. And our superintendents absolutely love Tagmarshal. They keep this with them all the time. They're looking at their phone so that they know exactly where the play is, so they can accomplish certain tasks, whether they're out there aerifying the fairways, or they're trying to verticut greens and top dress and those sort of things. They know, hey, okay, we got to kind of pull the plug on this project today. Play's going to be here in a few minutes. So it's pretty awesome, because those are disruptions as well, right? And nobody likes to get caught. And it's amazing, absolutely amazing. And being able to log your players in there, especially from a guest perspective, it's just that added touch of service that you can go up to the guest, and you know who they are, and you can use their name in that interaction, and that's huge.
Yeah, what we're often hearing is that how it also has efficiency benefit to the halfway house or the drinks cart, because the teams there, if they have line of sight, they can be prepared, which helps the turnaround. And as you're saying, you can more personalize your service. Let's jump ahead. And you've already mentioned a few points, and obviously we juxtapose the sort of before and after, and very often the managers we work with are saying, well, this is like, we used to have a paper map, now we've got Waze or we've got Google Maps, and we know what the traffic's really like, and we know where the speed traps are. So that gives you that next level. But from an efficiencies point of view, Kyle, just going back to you, and how have you found that you're getting efficiencies from making your team more accurate, more accountable, maybe getting things done with less hours? What are the sort of top items that you would want to highlight here?
Absolutely. Obviously, probably the biggest is just being much more targeted with the staff, so you are more efficient. You don't need as many player assistants on the golf course. And then when those interactions, when they are making their lap around the course or at a spot on the golf course, if they know a group is on pace and everything's good, it's more of a friendly, check-in on them. How are they doing? How are they enjoying the round? Anything we can get for you? And we're starting to, I think the perception of seeing a staff member on the golf course has changed from, being oh, am I in trouble, to, just more of a pleasant experience, which is great. We use a lot of the data for efficiencies based on, like we were saying earlier, working with the superintendent. If we start to see, on a Friday, we're our busiest day, we'll show where the superintendent, if they move the tees up on a few holes, make it play a little shorter, how all of a sudden we're picking up pace based on the previous Friday. Pin positions, we can kind of tell how those affect, our pace as well. And then, also, we can kind of check in on our turn time for food and beverage. Are we losing a lot of time with the turn? That helps that team, maybe it'd be more. Well, Tagmarshal just provides so much data that helps not just the golf staff, but the superintendent and food and beverage.
Two more things here, Kyle, if you don't mind. So I know that you've got quite an elaborate cart path only geofence setup. So yes. If you know that a group is not staying on the path, you would get a notification, and you've got a record of that. Mm-hmm. And then also, I believe that you are doing some renovations and have used some of the data to inform that. Yes, we are. So we've, first with the breach of the cart path only, that does help us know that we do times, especially in the summer with how hot it gets here, and we sit down a little hole here in Louisville, so it gets nice and humid. So we do at times go cart path only on certain holes. So that allows us to know if, maybe a guest just forgot, or maybe we have a member who's a kind of habitual breaker of the rules, we can gently remind. But, we're looking at a lot of our entry and exit
points here. One unique feature is our cart paths are a little off the beaten path, and we have a lot of heather or natural grass in between. So we have to make cut throughs for carts and walkers to get back and forth from the cart path. Using the entry exit points, kind of that heat map that's shown in the top left corner, has help the superintendent know when to move entry and exit points, where to move them. That information is very valuable.
Thanks, Philip. From your side on efficiency, obviously your history with having a whole army of player assistants, that would be a major efficiency benefit. But I'm sure that it would have also potentially adjusted the way that you hire, because now you know that you don't need somebody out there all the time, and the staff member can actually add value elsewhere until they are needed. What would you say are sort of mentionable or interesting points from an efficiencies point of view?
Yeah, so I think you're absolutely right. Certainly efficiencies in our labor savings, and that those savings drop right to the bottom line, and as well as we were able to use the data and figure out when it comes down to average round times, and the average round times are huge for us. And what we figured out is essentially our golfers that play first thing in the morning to about the first hour and a half of our day, those are our proficient golfers, and those are our seasoned vets. And we're going to that slide now. So that it allowed us to actually increase our inventory in the first hour and a half of our day, where we've been able to add 3 additional tee times. Those 3 additional tee times make an incredible impact on the bottom line at the end of the season, being able to add that, to sell those times. And as we all know, morning times are premium in the golf world. And if you can add inventory in those times, it's got success written all over it. And going back to kind of some of the things that Kyle said is, the utilizing the data to figure out where our pinch points are allows us to make those critical changes, maybe to soften the hole a little bit, maybe have a player's assistant on that hole, right? Just to, if it's a tricky tee shot or something along those lines, just to give that player, if they've never played there before, just that little bit of heads up as well. And we use the mobile units, which are amazing. They provide the yardage, and they give the, you can see what you're getting into before you actually even swing the golf club. So, it's a win-win for us. It's been great.
Yeah, we just jumped straight ahead to some data here that's actually from Keystone. So I know that 2020 was an outlier for many reasons, but you also were very busy. So this is from a regular year. It's a 200 player day. And this was quite shortly after you actually started to come online with the system, because your season's short enough being so high up in the mountain. But it's amazing to see how you've got 92% of your play on pace so early in the system implementation. And this is a single day. And here you can see that your team's right on it when a group comes and falls out of position. And where's down here is what looks to be a whole month of about 3,800 players. And you're coming in at 4:13, which is really nicely under the goal time that you've set for yourselves. How and to what extent do you, and also maybe let me swing back to Kyle here first, to what extent do you use this data to track your performance, maybe to do reporting? And also you mentioned earlier your hole by hole data is something that you look at just from your side at Valhalla, Kyle. Yeah,
that's, we've used this data from even showing members at times. If we have a kind of a consistent problem, we've showed them a day where they can easily see that they held up the rest of the day. You can usually, what you'll find is if you have one group that is you'll see a lot of 4-hour paces, and you see one that's at 4:35, and the rest of the day is basically 4:35 or hot, if not higher. So it helps us if we do have an issue, to go to a member and kind of show them, or a guest, show them how their slow play impacts the rest of the day. And actually usually playing that way helps a lot more. Just, just saying, hey, you're going to be, suspended from morning tee times for a while. So this kind of help, again, it helps soften our approach, use data to prove to the members why, how it affects the rest of the day. And then the hole by hole is key for us. We pay attention to that, where we've identified some, so like Philip said, the choke points. And a lot of times now we'll just have, on a busy day, we'll just have staff members there pretty much monitoring those holes.
I think fact beats opinion, right? Especially when you're handling conversations with members and important members. Philip, from your side?
Yeah, like it. Yeah, certainly. In having those conversations with groups is much easier, and you can see that the one delinquent group we had in the top, they had a message sent out to them. So, and they were only 1 minute off, so we're probably pretty easy on them. But yeah, I mean, using the data, and it just, the data speaks for itself. And like you said, since we use the handheld, our guests know where they stand as well on the golf course. They're looking at that little ticker up in the left-hand corner that says, hey, I'm good, or I need to pick it up a little bit. So it makes the conversation when we do need to go out on the golf course and have a chat, that it's right there in front of them. They know where they stand. And oftentimes, as we're approaching, they say, we know we're a little bit slow, but we're going to pick it up, right? Or we've changed from playing alternate shot to a scramble, right? So it's been great for us, and I think just looking at the individual holes in the hole stats on the bottom left, that allows us, and that provides that data right there allows us to make those changes and support the investment that we need to make on those certain holes, to improve it overall, right? I mean, we all have those holes on our golf course where we wish, God, I wish this hole wasn't quite this way, right? And to be able to make those changes and have the data to back it up makes it a lot easier to go to your managers to say, hey, we need to spend some money to address this issue.
So that's worked for you. How many holes have you changed?
So pre-COVID, we have a list, a significant list of improvements that we want to make. In those, we're hoping to get those finished last year, but obviously we're going to have to address those in this year. Just basically with the COVID that we had going on last year. Sure. We did what we could just to manage to the business minds that we had.
Yeah, but postponed is better than cancelled, right? Much like all of those majors, as long as you stay on top of it. Yeah, so thank you. We've heard a lot of interesting insights on the efficiency. We've heard a lot on from your side, especially Philip, on the revenue opportunity, which I know a private club is not necessarily geared like that, but if you can provide the best possible experience and you can find additional tee times, especially when everybody wants to play on a Saturday, that means you can make more members happy, right? Just maybe to summarize, how's the member and guest experience improved by you working in this fashion and achieving those results? And would you do it again? Would you recommend it to others in the industry? Is that something that people should look at?
Yes, absolutely. The thing we touched upon briefly, but I think it's important to mention as well. We've noticed that our members and guests, as they know, we're monitoring pace with something as accurate as Tagmarshal, that just the fact that we're monitoring and they know that has helped the pace of play. They know they're being watched. They know that the clock is accurate. So again, it just helps, like Philip was saying, as soon as they know that they're being watched, it does improve a pace. But what it helps us do is manage each day and have real data that shows, okay, if we have a certain who plays in 3 hours and 10 minutes. We know we got to try to do our best when we're making a tee time to suggest they get out ahead of a few groups. So it helps us manage our tee sheet much more efficiently. And there's certain members that when they bring guests, they don't like to be pushed. So we can help move them to a time of day where maybe it's okay to be 5 minutes over. And so that just by being up front and being ahead of it, it can drastically impact that person's experience.
Some great points, Philip.
Absolutely. Tag has changed my life and changed the experience of our golfers. I mean, it's a wonderful system. There are so many benefits with the system, and we utilize most all of them. We talked a lot about pace. We talked a lot about the labor. We talked about the ability to add inventory to our tee sheets, which is key. We provide with the mobile units. We're able to provide, what the guests have asked for as well at a resort course. Fairly decent amount for tee time paid at our facilities. There's also amenities that the guests wanted, such as yardages in that GPS component, and that sits there right on the golf cart. And in addition to that, I think one of the other pieces that is oftentimes overlooked is just the safety aspect that we've been able to utilize the system and to keep our golfers safe. When the occasional lightning storm, thunderstorm comes through and there's lightning, we message out to our guests that we have lightning in the area. Advise them of different events that are happening. So that's been a key piece for us as well, utilizing that system as our lightning detection communication. Also, God forbid if there is an accident or a medical emergency, tag has been wonderful for us. Nobody likes to think about those scenarios on their golf course, but they do happen. And being able to know exactly where every single person is on the golf course at any given time, it allows us to deploy medical personnel if needed. And that's a time saver. And time could be the difference. And so it's been wonderful. I can't believe that I went through 18 years of beating my head against the wall trying to solve a problem when the technology was clearly right there in front of me the entire time. And I certainly, you got to embrace change. You have to embrace technology and use it to your advantage because it makes your life a heck of a lot better.
Thanks, Philip. 18 years ago, I don't think it was quite ready. At that point, we had an extremely expensive military-only GPS location. But as you all know, you've got a location device in your pocket now every day, right? So why not use it where you work too? So have you ever had a wildlife incident message that you sent out? There's a bear on the 13th. Stay away, or has that happened?
Absolutely. We've got quite a few moose, especially at the river course, and it's and they generally like to hang out between holes 5, 6, and 7 in our little wetland area there. And you don't want to surprise a moose. So yeah, we'll send out those messages and just make people aware of it for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, and if a group doesn't get on with it, you can just say there's a moose on the way.
Exactly. If you're struggling with a slower group and nothing seems to be working, you just say, yeah, there's a bear on 5. You better skip to 6.
Nice one. Gents, thank you so much. If there are any questions in the audience, feel free to type it in to our chat. Here's a question. How easy is the system to implement, and did your team pull along?
I can answer that. Certainly, I can't say enough about the Tagmarshal team. The units arrived when they said they were going to arrive. We had Rob came out and visited us on site and helped us implement the system, helped us install the system, calibrated everything for us, trained us. and it is technology, and if it goes down, it's a phone call away, and you guys are so responsive to get us back up and running immediately, regardless of what time of the day it is or night. It's no issues there at all. It was very easy to implement.
Thankfully, we have a great team in Atlanta to help the time zones, because Rob eventually said with us 10 p.m. calls, guys, I need some help. So yeah, so our Atlanta office here to help. There's one more question, and maybe for Kyle. Does it make sense for a private club that is not as busy? Because Kyle, you mentioned that Valhalla does a fair amount of rounds. Just in terms of a club that's maybe less busy, maybe a bit more in a different location, or maybe even more exclusive, what would you think? Is that something that makes sense from a private club standpoint?
Yeah, I think pace of play is always important. And then it also depends, especially depending on the layout of the club. I mean, there might be certain clubs are a little more difficult to see from maybe one vantage point. So I know clubs that have used Tagmarshal from obviously like us, and some that are a little more exclusive and do a little less play. But I think having the data is very powerful. And if the golf, your golf chairman or board is interested in improving pace of play, I think it's important from the golf professional standpoint to have the data and have the backup. So it's not especially if maybe you're changing policies or being a little more strict on pace, especially with a time where, of course, they're seeing record rounds, up 20, 25%, pace of play will only be important as you get more people on the golf course. So that data is really powerful. And as a golf professional, it helps you keep positive relationships with the members. If you do have to have a conversation, you're not singling them out, you're just showing them facts.
Well, that's a great point. Okay, gents, I think we are right on time because we don't want to go over. I saw that everyone who joined stayed right through the end. So that means what you shared was insightful. Thank you everyone for your time. Philip, Kyle, thank you for your insights. Really appreciate it. You guys must have a fantastic 2021. Less surprises, no aliens, lots of golf, and hope your plans will come to fruition this season. And we look forward to another strong season with you and helping you get great results.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, gents, and thanks to the audience as well. Do check in with us. You know where to find us, tagmarshal.com, and phone our team over in Atlanta. They're here to help. Okay, thanks everyone. Take care.
Have a great day.